Dzień dobry, nazywam się Błażej Hrabkowicz, to jest 28. edycja festiwalu EnergaCAMERIMAGE w Toruniu, ale oczywiście ze względu na okoliczności online. Naszym gościem jest, our guest is Felix von Muralt, cinematographer of the film from main competition, Caged Birds. Hello, Felix.
Hello to Torun.
I understand you're in Tallinn, so we have a connection between Tallinn and Warsaw because I'm in Warsaw, but we're doing it for Toruń, so 3 cities involved.
Okay.
First of all, Felix, watching your film, I realized that we have a certain view of Switzerland, and the film opens with this really brutal scene of a couple of women being dragged by the police to the car and beaten very, very, very harshly. This is not an image we usually I am talking about stereotypes. Usually associated with Switzerland. We see Switzerland as maybe this very stable, neutral country. And it's interesting that this is a film which shows different side of the country, a very troubled period of the country. Was it one of the things that really drew you to this project?
Well, I think it wasn't the first mission of this film to show like that Switzerland is a country like any country that you might know elsewhere. And but on the other hand, I participated in these riots when I was 17, so it's part of my personal history. And I wasn't on the front line because I was a little bit too young. I was 16 and a half or 17, but I was quite fascinated by what happened because we stirred up a pretty conservative and very Protestant regime at that period of time. And when I shot the film, I sometimes was really quite surprised how much we time traveled somehow, and that we found ourselves on the set in a situation that I knew exactly what it used to be or what it was. So yeah.
In that way, was it a different project for you than other films you were involved in terms, even of your work as a cinematographer, that you really connected with this material on a personal level?
I think when you tell stories that you know about, you find a different approach than when you just simply shoot a commercial film. And yeah, therefore, this project is like on many levels really, really close to my heart. First of all, the director is an old friend of mine. We get along really, really well. Then the production company is one of the production companies that attacks ideas and content from a very, very engaged and very sort of political side. So I gave a lot of my heart into that movie, and although, yeah, even more happy that somehow it ended up on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Is it important because you said that this company approaches different subjects and filmmaking from a sort of very political point of view? Do you, in your work as a cinematographer and in working on the visual side of the film, was the fact that it was a political film, a film that really catches the political pulse of that time, was that really important in your thinking about how to shoot the film, how to approach it visually?
I think it makes it easier when you simply tell a story that makes sense, whether it's political or a social subject. When I can relate to what I'm really reading in the script, obviously the images are coming much easier than when I have to find like ideas to to show something that looks nice, but you don't really believe in it. It makes it much harder. Here, obviously, it's like about confinement. It's about liberty. It's about being having your freedom taken from you. Obviously, you launch your visual thinking machine immediately to find ways how to express that claustrophobic idea of not being able to be what you want to be in a visual sense. So Yeah, there was quite a bit of more intuitional research how to transform this idea or this simple text that you have in the beginning into something sensual where you can feel what's really what really matters to tell the story.
Mm. This confinement you're talking about, it's really, this is something the film starts with. I already mentioned the first scene, that we have this really dark space. Then the door open, but they do not open to a free space of freedom. These girls are thrown into the police van, and they are beaten up and they are confined. So tell us a bit more about, because you just said, you just told us about searching for visual tools to depict this confinement and loss of freedom. Did you talk with the director beforehand of how to do it? Did you pre-plan, or maybe you just sort of on the set tried the different things? And what were the things, the tools, your tools as a cinematographer, that you used here for this feeling of confinement?
We had quite a big advantage that Oli, the director who's living in Berlin, and that the fact that we shot the film in Zurich was obviously the reason why Oli didn't spend time at home. So we had some sort of another sort of confinement. Actually, we were living together during the preparation, and we had quite a bit of preparation. He moved into my flat, and so every morning at 7, before like the regular business like casting and location scout and blah blah started, we had like at least 3 or 4 hours of time to sit down and think about the movie, which is a privilege these days, because most of the films you called in 2 weeks before it starts, and you don't have time to reconsider your decisions or to research in a very informal way where the whole thing could go. Then we did quite a bit of testing to find the look, and obviously with the tests I went to see Oliver, and it was a sort of ping pong where an idea came in and the other one came in, and it was a sort of very friendly competition of which idea would be the best for the film. And then somehow I hate testing, and I spent a bit of time in this kind of next to we were in Bavaria testing, and I went to a garden center and started buying iron rods and like these little plastic things for to keep like snails out of your garden, which are semi-translucent kind of plastic crap. And I started putting it in front of the camera and the lens. So we had like this, I mean, Ari is selling flare sets for a lot of money. I went to the supermarket and bought some plastic, and we have it quite a lot of times in front of the camera, because it was like reducing the perspective of the spectator, but also somehow you enter into the mind of the people that are in the film. But it's really, I mean, we invested maybe 50 euros into our flare set that we used quite a bit in the film, and you don't really see it or feel it, I think. But actually, you don't really, how do you say, remarquer in French? You don't, you're not aware that it's used, but it's always there, or quite often.
So you use that to sort of put us inside the mind of the main characters, of the characters who experience this confinement and this fight and loss of freedom, if I understand that correctly.
Yeah, I mean, the lawyer also has like a physical, she is sick, she has a kidney problem. So there was we had to find out how to show her weakness and her strength at the same moment. So sometimes her world gets a bit blurry, and then she comes back, and we had to find out when we use all these extra gadgets. But yeah, the other thing was like contrast. We have really, really dark blacks in that film, and pushed it quite a bit to make it look sort of not dramatic, but less friendly than other films I've shot before. I mean, yeah.
You mentioned characters. What is the most important thing for you? Because this film is also about people, and the characters are really important and their experience. And there are two main characters, and this un, un, unorthodox, maybe, and not likely relationship between them. What is your approach as a cinematographer to like filming actors, working with them, to filming the characters, the actors, to get the most out of it? How do you approach it?
Well, first of all, I try to give him as much space as possible, especially for that kind of film. I'm not a friend of camera assistants that put marks on the ground and then everybody starts screaming and shouting if the actor doesn't really do what is supposed to do. I mean, they're supposed to deliver feelings and to get into their role. So if I can, I give them a maximum of space and do lighting. So they really have a stage where they can, in the best of cases, move 360, which is mostly not the case. But I mean, it's about, yeah, giving them the freedom that they have to fight for in the film somehow. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, am I understanding it correctly? Then, if the actors move inside sort of a frame, and they move how in a way that their acting intuition and the emotion that they want to show is guiding them to, then, but rather than stopping and saying you had to be there, not there, you're trying to sort of create a space for them and maybe follow them with the camera.
Yeah, sure. We had quite a bit of hand camera, handheld. We shot quite a bit on gimbals, following their movements. But I sometimes think like all this electronic stabilization is less human than following. I mean, there's a good tool to follow a human movement is a human body as a cameraman, and I really like. Operating the camera myself for that reason, because it's such an intuition, so it needs so much intuition, and it's difficult to delegate that to somebody else. And I like to do it. It's the sexy part of camera operating. Yeah, it's kind of a sensual thing. So yeah, you start a sort of love affair with the actors in the 3D space that you're using, whether it's a studio or a location. And yeah, part of the fun.
Yeah, there's also a period piece, and of course, in terms of period pieces, we usually talk a lot about the costumes, the production design, and the recreation of the world that in this case a couple of decades ago. But from a cinematographer's point of view, is that an important thing for you, even in thinking about the film? Is it a contemporary piece? Is it a period piece? Or maybe do you use in your work if you do a period piece, do you use sometimes some techniques that were sort of popular in cinematography back then? Or is it completely, or maybe it doesn't matter to you?
I think each film needs a different approach, and whether it's set up, I mean, I shot films in the 18th century, and this one is like the 80s of the last century. Each one needs a different approach. I mean, light sources are different in the 80s than they were in the Middle Ages than they are now. You have like complete different you have now the LED revolution, and that makes like the everyday life somewhat lit differently in reality than it used to be 50 or 100 or 200 years ago. And but I'm not thinking so much in terms of like historical truth. I think I'm more interested in the psychological truth of what you want to tell, and then of course you try not to make too many mistakes that could like distract the attention of the spectator, because you all of a sudden have a car that doesn't fit the period, because then you're losing credibility. But the rest of it, I mean, you can shoot a really bright, sunny, colorful film in the 70s, or you can shoot the way we shot in the 80s, and it depends on the psychology of what you want to tell.
Did you have to throw away some shots because there was a new car in the background?
Not really, no. We try not to throw away too much, because even high budget films, which this one is for Switzerland, is relatively good budget, but compared to the rest of the world, the richest country of the world, or one of the richest countries of the world, still shoots very, very low budget all the time.
Mm-hmm. Felix, thank you for this conversation. Your film is available, of course, online, Caged Birds. We encourage everyone to see it. I hope you can come to Torun next year or a couple of years from now, when this crisis is over, and stay healthy.
Yeah, you too, everybody.
Yeah.
Good luck, and I hope, that we can keep shooting somehow. It's really getting difficult now.
Let's hope so, and let's hope that the cinema will survive this crisis as it has survived many in the past.
Cinema is not easy to kill.
No, it isn't. Thank you very much, Felix.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.